Good evening. Hi. Hi, Kathleen. You're jumping on screen early with me here, girl. So, Kathleen and I bringing in book club conversations here this evening. I am
Good
Alina
evening.
Lewis, and joining me on screen is Kathleen Joseph.
Good
And we're
evening,
happy to
everyone.
welcome you to Book Club Conversations, Series 8, where we're jumping into the art of networking, the art of collaboration. So even the way we start this evening's broadcast is showing how powerful when two and more come together, we're collaborating to say, hey, we are here. And listen, it's the month of March, Kathleen. And as I
It
was chatting
is.
with someone, we're chatting, it's the month where we recognize International
Mhm.
Women's, honoring them, commemorating women in business, women all over the world. So look how exciting. We're starting off book club convo with two powerful women here saying, hey, how y'all doing? And joining us, we have an even more diverse group of people in studio with us. We have Rollocks, Impact Strategist. We have Candace Andrews, online event host. Of course, Kathryn is already on screen with me, Mr. Anthony the Frietas, financial consultant, and Nalini, Surat Singh, Chief Financial Officer. Now, this is Book Club Conversation Series 8, where we're delving into and reflecting on the practical applications all business owners should be mindful and engaged as they think big and upscale operations. Without further ado, let's have our ladies and our gentlemen in studio joining us to start this evening conversation. Hi, everybody.
Hello. Good
Hi.
evening.
Good
Hi,
evening.
evening.
Great.
Good
And so
evening.
I
Good
want to
evening.
jump right in, just chatting about the whole idea of networking, the idea of collaboration. I want to ask the question as an open forum. Anyone can jump in. What should professionals understand about networking and collaboration? Far so often that these terms are used interchangeably. So I'm curious to know, what really is it all about, and is it the same?
Well, I definitely want to be the person that right out of the blocks. We started this networking and collaboration by coming on together this evening and speaking to the whole issue of making the network. So for me, networking is about building a team and building a team in the process of developing yourself and your professional career. And collaboration is the way we work with that team to be able to get a goal. But I want to share probably my own personal journey about this whole process of networking and the whole issue of why we sometimes as professionals sabotage our own success. I'm talking to persons who are bright but often found themselves broke, who are connected but not promoted, and who are competent but don't seem to be able to move forward in their careers. And that was one of the things that was my history. I was always this bright, bubbly personality who seemed to understand many things, but they couldn't get anywhere. And one of the reasons I found that happened is because I was a very individually minded person. Give me what I have to do and leave me alone to do it. Just tell me what the boundaries are. But that's not how the workplace works, and that's not really how it works. It's not about accomplishing a task, it's about accomplishing a task as a team. And in order to do that, each of us must work together collaboratively to do that. And this situation where you become a bright star and a bright spark often led to you not understanding that part of the reason we work together is by the way we work together is by building trust. And building trust requires you to be transparent, requires you to care about other people's perspective. It requires you to want to invest in understanding the organization. Most times they're not promoted because they don't trust you, because they don't know you. You come to work and you just do your work and you go home, but you don't participate in anything. You don't come to the sports day, you don't go to nothing. And because of that, people don't know you, they just know what you produce. If you want to build a community and grow as a professional, you need people. It's people that will promote you, people that will talk about you, people that will care about you, and people that will be your benefactor. So you need to always make sure that you're building a network. The question is how. But you also need to also be collaborating, and that's how you're building network, by be willing to give and be willing to take. Because some of us we do, but we can't take a compliment. So networking and collaborating for the professional is about building a community to grow into who you become, and that's one of the things that I've learned over some very painful years of just always being the individual who was bright but broken in many areas. So that's where I want to jump off.
I want to drill down a bit further into that. I'm
Mm,
listening to you, Kathleen, and of course, this is open to anyone. And I'm thinking about a real life scenario with someone
mm,
I know who spent all their time at the bar. And the reason this person spent all their time by the bar is they were convinced that
mm,
the only way they will get business is they had to go by the bar, because the bar
mm,
is the place where networking takes place. Yeah?
mm,
I'm thinking of another scenario, real life scenario of someone who always makes sure their business cards are well stocked, because the
mhm,
way they network is they have to have business cards to give to people. So when I say I want to drill down, I would like for someone to share, when we talk about networking and building community, what really is it that we're building, and how do we know who we should build with, so that maybe people who are sitting, looking, listening, and reflecting, they could
mm,
think about what they're currently doing, what their current or past practices have been, because maybe they're trying to figure out, have I been going about this networking thing right? Do I
mm.
really understand the heart of it, as we get into? Can anybody jump in and really expound a bit more there?
Sure. Many times, as you said before, we think collecting call cards is part of networking, but a lot of us fail with being intentional. What do I mean? When do we follow up? When do we, and even when we follow up, do we take that into action? So I believe networking and then going into collaboration is like a intertwining of worlds. And I believe a lot of persons, they collect really, really good contacts, they follow, they subscribe, all of these things, but there's no action after that because they believe they have done enough, they have done sufficient. And I think what needs to happen is, why am I needing to network to this person, with this person, to collaborate? What do we collaborate on? When do we meet to have time to follow up on this? Because you cannot talk collaboration in effect. You cannot talk collaboration by the double stand. You cannot talk collaboration. You have to literally say, hey, we have certain worlds in common. We have certain values in common. Let's meet. Let's set dates. Let's plan a project. Let's start something to go forward with, because a lot of people, they also think that, well, I know a lot of people, so I must be successful in business. But the business is not coming in for you because you are not collaborating with these persons on ventures that are going to make profit for you, that is going to be beneficial for the both parties. And I have a quote that I live by: don't compete, collaborate. But a lot of persons, they think, way, Rawle know 10 million people, I'm going to collaborate with Rawle so that Rawle people will get to know my people. But guess what? Rawle's people have been fed by Rawle for quite amount of time, for some years. And if I am not able to serve them something similar on a platter, they are just going to be numbers on a chart and they're going to disappear. So my word for that is, you have to be intentional. You have to also understand, when I'm collaborating with this person, it is not for me to go home with the bigger piece of the pie. It's for me to give as much as possible because I want to be able to open other doors. So, as was shared before, I see networking as the invitation to start relationships, but collaboration is that invitation to sustain those relationships with intentional action.
Those are
Can
powerful
I jump in
statements.
here?
Sure.
Oh, sorry about that, Kathleen. Yeah, just to add to what Kathleen shared and Candace shared, it's so important to get the mindset right. And I think it starts by understanding and believing that collaboration is really the way to go. There's an acronym for team that says together each achieves more. I think if we really believe that and we take it to heart, we'll begin to see the benefits. Now, the thing about it is that some people say that teaming is a strategic imperative, which means if you look around the world today, any company, any organization that you can think of is based upon a teaming and collaborative model. And I'm saying if companies can do it, why not individuals and professionals and SMEs? All right. So if you think of the perfect example I have is BP. I ask people, what is BP? BP is a collection of companies. What does BP do? BP finds people who drill. BP will find someone to provide the meals. BP will find someone to lay the pipes. BP will find someone to do security. If you really think about it, BP is an amalgamation of companies, really, in terms of what they deliver. If you look at that across, no matter the company you can think of, you'll see this dynamic taking place. So it's the same thing on the SME level and the professional level. So you have to believe that it's a superior way of doing business. The second thing I'll add is that you have to know what is your value proposition. And I think that's the challenge. What are you bringing to the table? And just like Kathleen said, and I think Candace mentioned it, it's not just what you extract from your network, it's what you bring to it. What are those unique things that you are bringing that people are going to say, yes, I want to do business with you, I want to connect with you? If that is unclear, and it just seems you just want to extract, definitely collaboration is going to be a little more difficult. So I'll just say I'll add those pieces and leave room for anybody else to share.
Yeah, all good points.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so one of the things that I wanted to share is that, something I started talking about before we went live, which is that, as a people, I'm going to say as a people, I mean, Trinbagonians and most people in the developing world, we have a little problem. And my sense of it is because of years and years of oppression, imperialist oppression, right, of one sort or another, from slavery, indentureship, and then proper colonization of our countries, we have developed a number of issues around collaboration and leadership. And one of them is that we lack trust. And Kathleen said, that's one of the first things that Kathleen said, and it stood out to me because that's something I truly, truly believe. We lack trust as a people. So I'll tell you something, and we Trinidadians are a unique group. We are really, really good at partying. When I was a little fella, I had a good friend who was a big DJ, 5 friends of mine. We all went to college together. And they had one of the most popular DJ groups at the time. And the level of collaboration and networking that take place to promote about 20 parties over about 4 years or 5 years. We built a whole system, a whole networking system. And we sold at least 3,000 tickets for each party over 5 years. So I think that we Trinidadians are really good at that. When you look at Carnival and the role of the millennials and the Gen Ys and Zs in terms of pushing fetes and having parties and so on, that trend continues up to today. But where we suck badly is in collaboration and networking for business purposes. For some reason, I'm in the credit union movement for a number of years. And I have observed that there's a lot of trepidation, a lot of fear people have. And I mean, having worked TSCT for a number of years too, I know that even in the communications business, there's a lot of suspicion. One company looking to see who spend more capex, who invests more, who going to get it bigger. They always have this vision, this view, this narrow, very, very narrow view that we have a limited amount of resources and there's only so much a particular person could eat. And that's wrong. If we go on the premise that we live in a world of abundance, which it really is, and understand what is at stake, we will understand that we have no choice but to collaborate and to network with each other. So when it comes to studying, to business collaboration, we have a lot of suspicion and a lack of trust, and that is one of the main obstacles. The day that we realize that we are all connected And we all need each other, as opposed to, hey, I have to push down this one and walk over that one. If you could get over that narrow-mindedness, right, and that hand me down from slavery, indentureship, and colonization, colonialism, then I think we'll be truly on the road to developing our country and being a real powerhouse that I believe we really are inside. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Uh, wow, that was so loaded. That was great. And even as I'm soaking all that you've shared, even as I'm soaking it in, I am thinking that with everything in life, there's a good way, a bad way, a better way, a not so good way, and everything else in between. So I want to ask, are there any best practice approaches that professionals should keep in mind when connecting and networking, especially through digital media and social media platforms? Because especially because with COVID, the in person and the forum and the conference and so many of those things have been put on hold, but the need to network, the need to collaborate remains. But so now that we're existing in a digital space more than ever before, are there any best practice approaches, any protocols, any don't do it so, do it like this? What is it that professionals, owners of businesses need to keep in mind when collaborating and or networking, especially using digital platforms? Can anybody share any insight?
Well,
I would.
definitely. Go ahead, Roll.
No, I was just about to say this is Candace's topic, so I'll wait till you're finished.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, it's not just Candace's topic, but Candace lives a lot in this world. And I believe what I have seen, especially in the pandemic, is a lot of desperation and not deliberation and not making clear decisions. And a lot of persons, they decide, you know what? I am going to go live with everybody I know so that so all their followers will have exposure to my content. And that is very dangerous. A lot of persons, you don't understand that your reputation could be damaged in a few seconds just by sharing the same space with the wrong person. And what do I mean by that? We need to do our checks and balances and see. I know my niche market. I know who I serve. Would this person be a good fit to share in the air or to share any space with me? And it's not to say that I'm trying to be better than the other person, but you really don't want uh uh alcoholic brewery place to sponsor your church bazaar and have their flag there because it just does not fit. And a lot of times people bring in these popular artists or bring in these other radio personnel, and guess what? They have their own following and it's healthy, yes, but are they able to dish up a meal that your niche will be happy devouring or eating, right? So that's one of the things. Another thing that I've seen is that, especially for me, when you create opportunities for the persons you trust, and of course, trust is a theme coming out here, you will begin to see growth like never before because now you are saying, I am not the expert alone. There are others in this space. I don't know everything. I'm entering an arena where I'm going to learn, and creating the opportunities is going to help. And another thing is show up and take a back seat. What do I mean? If I know Kathleen is going live every Sunday and she's going to talk on a particular topic, and Kathleen is part of my network, guess what? Kathleen becomes part of my calendar where I book. I have to show up for her lives. I have to show up for her segments because guess what? I need to show the support so that when it's my turn to get that support, we can now have a healthy relationship. And a lot of people, they show up to say, well, my name there in the history, so they must know. But You showed up in what way? Did you contribute? Did you participate? People remember what you do for them. They may not remember your name. They may not remember what shirt you had on, if it was ironed or not, but they remember how you made them feel and they remember what you did for them. So I think it's really important to create space, take a back seat, realize, hey, if it have 10 million, 10 people doing baking, and you are doing baking as well, that's okay to support persons. I think in this country, and I could only talk for the space I live in, we are afraid to support those who do similar work. I don't know why. There is room for everyone. There is room at the table. If there's no room, make room and bring a chair. Walk with your own chair, and don't try to make somebody else look small. Collaborating is not to say, well, boy, this is a moment to show up my brand and to make the other person look small. That is dangerous. So, in a nutshell, make room, make a lot of room. And as you make room for others, room will open up for you at the table eventually.
Well said,
I think
Candace.
a
And
common
if
message.
you, yeah, go ahead.
I think a common message that has come forward from everybody so far is that there is what is required is a level of integrity in your personal interactions, and it starts with who you are, knowing who you are, and that, as Kathleen started, we live in a community, and these are relationships that we are forming. We form these relationships. It ought not to be about what you can get from the other person, but just knowing that we live in an interconnected world that is also, and where there are also intraconnections. And it is what I bring to the table and what I can contribute to making things better. You go with that mindset, it just makes the interactions so much easier, so much more honest. And when you start with a level of honesty, and honesty also in terms of how you present yourself, just be you, be real all the time. And it's amazing to me um, how critical and how vital, just being true to yourself really is. True to yourself, true to your values. You operate in a world where there is so much negativity, so much dishonesty, and when you start networking, what you're doing is you're opening yourself and you're exposing yourself to different environments. But if you believe in your truth and you stand with a level of truth, that truth will actually take you places.
I want to come in, Alina, please, because I think I need to also throw in some of the maybe difficult parts of these kind of conversation, because the truth is, one of the challenge that we all have with networking and collaboration has been said about understanding that there's enough in the pie. But the fact is that we are all really in competition internally. Intrinsically we are competitive, and competitive does not necessarily mean a bad thing. In fact, I have this word I call co-opetition, where you cooperate in a competitive environment, because the fact is that when we are all in a job and there's three places of promotions, we're all competing for that promotion. So for us to deny that all of us want to be promoted and all of us want to see our brand grow and all of us want to be the number one in a space is not necessarily true. We do want to see that. The question is, how does networking and collaboration allow the whole of the rising tide to grow together? And some of the things that I've learned is understanding who I am and what makes me tick. When I say networking, for me, I really want to get to know you, not only because of what I need, but because I think I could contribute to what you need, but I'm not going to forget my need. And I think that's important that persons understand that we're not asking you to turn into somebody that does not want or is not ambitious about succeeding, but really to understand that we succeed better together. And in terms of functional collaboration, and I use the word functional because Rawle talked about the situation where we have different persons doing different aspects. Last night I was reflecting for this conversation and I saw that there are about 5 or 6 real core systems in a business. Your maintenance system is critical. Your financial system is critical. Your communication and management system in terms of your HR is critical. Your financial systems are critical, and how you find business are critical. If we understand that in you as a visionary or the business owner understand that you might have a vision, but in order to get this vision going, you need to have people to collaborate with you and to collaborate with them because each person comes with that need. Everybody wants to have a sense of their own sense of success, so that in our collaboration and our networking, we must remember that not only are we meeting a need for ourselves, but we need to meet needs for others. So we need to collaborate, understanding that they want something too, and I want something too. Not necessarily, and that's not really a bad thing because we all want certain things in life. So, being in a very honest place where we assess ourselves and know we want this is important, but understanding what are the things that you will not do to get it. One of the things I used to do that used to sabotage me is that I never understood that my role was to make my boss look good. Not because he was better than me, but I had a role to help him accomplish his goal. And when he saw me helping him accomplish his goal, he built a trust in me, and then he realized that I have a goal. And coming out of that, we were able to build each other up because he now wanted to know, well, seeing that I could trust you with my reputation, what is it you needed? So those are some of the things that I learned over the time.
Alina, yeah, I wanted to address the whole benchmark thing real quickly. I know Tony has his contribution there, but there are 3 things I'll recommend in terms of a benchmarking, especially for online. I think the first thing is you have to do research. So you have to, if you're going to an event or there's an event that you want to be at, you need to look at the various events if available and see how it connects with your vision and your plan. All right. Once you've identified the event or the networking opportunity, you want to research who are the hosts, who are the kind of people that's going to be there. You want to have that information. How long is going to be? How early I need to set up? How do I need to present myself like we're doing tonight? What platform? So you are ready and you're prepared, right? Once you've done the research, I would say the second thing that you need to do is that you need to have a plan. All right. You need to put together a plan. What am I going to bring to the table? So think about the kind of event. So let's say it's an event where people are presenting what they are about. Think about the companies at them. Think about how you can be of value to them. And also think about what you would want so that it makes the conversation when you're talking to people a little clearer about what's on the table for collaboration. The third thing I'd suggest is that you need to be discoverable. And that's, to me, the marketing 101, especially if you're doing it online. People are, after they meet you, they're going to want to know who are you really. And a lot of credibility is earned right now online. So I may tell somebody something. Once they say your name, you say your name, they are going to look. They're going to look on LinkedIn. They're going to look on Facebook. They're going to look you up, right? And if you're marketing a product or a service, you're marketing yourself, people must be able to find you. And if they can't find you, they're going to begin to question your credibility. Who is this person? I can't find. I went on LinkedIn and I only seen one line in the profile. The Facebook page, the last posting was 2 years ago. This person really exists. This company really around. So I'm thinking making sure you beefed up all those areas so people can find you and not just find you, connect with you. You have to make it easy for them to be able to pick up a phone or find you to have a conversation. So those are the 3 things I recommend.
Yeah, so Alina, that's a short contribution. What I wanted to say, first of all, I wanted to just clarify the point I was making about not looking at it from a point of competition. I'm not saying don't compete. Competition is a part of life. But I was just saying, don't be blinded by it, and don't look at it from a position of, limited resources and only have so much and this and that and the other. When we work together, we are better. But I think Kathleen developed the point she was making to the end there very well. So what the contribution I want to make was with respect to how we could start, use what best practices we could employ to get into that collaborative and networking sphere. And one of the first things I advise clients of mine is that I ask them, based on the area they operate in, what association can you join? Right? It could be whether in the San Juan area, join the San Juan Businessmen Association, the St. Augustine Chamber, the Chaguanas Chamber, the Port of Spain, the Downtown Owners and Merchants Association. All these organizations offer resources and opportunity for collaboration and networking, right? So you join those things, you try to participate in the various programs that they offer, and you get yourself out there as well. You wouldn't just go to meetings and keep quiet every time. You have to ask questions, get to know people, and that is how you really start to build that trust we were talking about, and which is the main theme of this collaboration, discussion. So by getting to know people, getting them to know you, you're able to better position yourself. So you find yourself, you might join the Shoguna's chamber, for example, and next thing you find yourself in a vaccination drive, going to help them and so on, and people get to know you. So when they see your business, it tends to position you better in terms of getting opportunities, and people start to think about you to the forefront of your mind. A lot of times we focus on customers, and that is great, but you also have to look at opportunities to collaborate for people in the same industry or for certain segments of your business where you may have weakness. You may have some HR issues and need assistance in terms of, industrial relations guidance and HR guidance. You may need help with policies and procedures. Being in these associations, it allows you to speak to people and to develop the networks necessary for you to be able to start thinking about, hey, I could call Peter, I could call John, I could call Teresa, and get some help. Because that is very, very important in terms of coming together with others who like-minded and, in order to further your business opportunities. So that was the contribution. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Really, really helpful information there. Two I words that have come out of our conversation for the evening so far. One is integrity. And I really think that as we talk about integrity, we're talking about how we are ourselves to represent well and to be authentic and truthful and well meaning in our interactions with others, so that not only do we want to receive, but we want to be able to give. And then there's intentionality. What is it that we're trying to do? And I want to add to that the notion of impact, because as we pull it all together, we're seeing that the whole idea, when we talk about the art of collaboration, networking, plus it's about making an impact. We're doing all of these things to be able to make an impact. I can envision, though, persons wondering, how would I know if I'm making an impact or not? I've collected the business cards, given the business cards. My LinkedIn connections are up. My Facebook connections are up. My TikTok viewership is up. Everything is up. But is it working? And I want to just, as we sort of come closer to the end, I want us to take some time to look at that. How do we know whether our efforts towards networking and collaboration, how do we know if it's effective or not? Can you all give any insight on maybe benchmarks or anything else that persons can use to make such a determination so they can know how to move forward in this area of their development?
I just want to jump off by saying that I think the points that Rawle and Mr. Frietas just talked about are really points where you started from, because if you are in becoming more discoverable, more people reach out to you, and so you know that you're making an impact when you're having more connections, more persons reaching out to you, more persons searching on you, and more persons inviting you as you contribute to be part of other teams. And that allows you to make a further impact, as well as people to be impressed and want to do business with you. So the fact that you're getting greater connection or greater connectivity and greater person searching you becomes, to me, one of the ways that you can know that you're making an impact. And that to me is one of the standouts.
And of course, in addition to that, I've noticed too that there are certain names that will be mentioned based on the sector. And of course, one of the greatest benchmarks is when you become a household name, or your name comes up at a dinner table, right? And it's because you, when they think one particular thing, they think your name. So I think this idea of creating a presence even when you are not present is very, very important. And how do we do that? We attach ourselves to the things that our market loves and likes. So let's just say something simple as, if my market are teenagers, right? And there's a particular TikTok that they love, I need to find myself in that TikTok, right? And once I find myself in that TikTok, they are going to, every time they remember that song, they're going to remember you, because now you have attached yourself to this particular activity. And I think another thing that when we talk about impact, and Kathleen hinted to it a bit too, we will start to see certain changes in our space that were not existing before. Example, we'll start to see persons who we really don't know starting to comment, starting to be a part of our online conversations, starting to follow us. And when you think of impact, you think of impression. So what is the impression that persons have on you? And you will see those impressions from the feedback, from the comments, from the fact that they decided to reach out to you. And I think in this whole thing of impact, we need to think about not judging, creating spaces where we don't judge. Because a lot of persons say, that's not going to be good. I don't even know this person on the panel. But we have to be mindful in our research that we may not know the person on the panel, but the organization has a history of producing really good work, of bringing a lot of good work forward. So when we attend these spaces, we must have certain goals in mind. So my goal is, a goal to collect call cards is not a goal, because you could get wet in the rain and the call cards could mash up. That is not the goal. The goal is, how do I leave a mark or an impression on the persons that I want to have further conversations with? Those are little breadcrumbs that you are dropping. You're not going to go to a networking party and say, hey, take the whole pie, take the whole bread. Yeah, eat all you can. No, you want to be able to leave breadcrumbs to make sure that they could find you after, to make sure that you have left a mark on their head, and it's like, wow, this person, I want to get to know this person more. So we really need to really think about, how do I create a presence even in my absence?
Yeah, I believe a lot of what we've discussed so far connects with the whole idea of value creation. And I know value creation is a topic that would take a whole session, because value isn't often what we think it is, particularly for the SME, the sole trader, the professional. They see value from their perspective. So for example, you may be in a job and you have a degree, and you think that degree means that there's value. Because I have this master's, that's value. You understand? But value is what you create in people's mind and what they receive. So I think understanding and clarifying what is your value offering is critical to make an impact. I'll give you an example. I had this idea that I would be this great financial planner. You understand? So I will do this financial practice. I would offer financial plans. And then I realized people don't want financial planning. They want what financial planning gives. You understand? They want the freedom. They want the independence. They want to feel good. You understand? So unless you sell that, you're going to have a very difficult time in the financial planning or financial coaching industry. You need to understand what value people are looking for. And sometimes it may mean editing your product. That's a word we've heard in some of our discussions before. Editing your offering, changing or tweaking what you're doing as you present yourself in these collaborative ventures, because other than that, people are going to miss it. Sometimes I dare say you may be ready to offer something that the market just isn't ready for either. And you have to be real. You have to have that serious, brutal discussion with yourself about your offering and ensure that you're offering real value to the market.
Yeah, I'd just like to add to that. So I like how this discussion going. A lot of good ideas being thrown out. And it stimulates me to see a little more in terms of the asset test. The asset test really of the effectiveness of your business and whether your networking and collaborative effects attempts having any results is really the bottom line. It's one of two things. It's either your bottom line will be increasing in terms of your revenue and your profits, or the effectiveness of your business. So where we're talking about policies and procedures and collaboration, I find out how you do things. I have in this particular problem. How do I fix it? And you start asking questions and you get answers. And you realize, look, you know what? My business need to have standard operating procedures on everybody's desk, or I need to have a new accountant, whatever it is, right? So it's either getting an increase in the effectiveness of the business and its operations, more efficiency, and or you're getting better financial results. Because as they always say, money talks. So thank you.
Thank you so much. So, even as we bring this to a close, I really want to open the floor to everyone to share some closing thoughts. And as you do so, to be sure to mention your resource. What's your reading resource, whether a book, a website, or some other source of literature that persons can tap into to better understand networking, to better understand collaboration, so they could move even closer to achieving their goals in this particular area. And once again, the floor is open.
I know I've been starting first for this whole thing, so maybe I'll just continue the process. uh, so there are two persons I'm talking to. I'm talking to professionals who are still in their workplace, and I'm calling them entrepreneurs. And I remember listening to Mr. De Frietas on the first series, and he talked about his time at TSTT and the fact that he's learned so much, and he was an internal entrepreneur. And so in doing that, you really have to understand how to make office politics works for you and don't sabotage your success. And there's a book that I read that transformed my life called Don't Sabotage Your Success, Make Office Politics Work. It's by Karen Ginsburg Wood. I couldn't find it. I ran outside getting it, but I couldn't find it. But I read that book cover to cover, and it was a really eye-opener in the way that as a professional, I was sabotaging and some of the things, practical things that I applied and made it work for me. So that's a really good book to read. And there's another one that I just don't recall right now, but just to say that people always buy from people. And you need to make connections with people. And to make connections with people, you have to know your own self. You have to know that you bring value to the table. And you have to be willing to give and be willing to receive. Is what is really important that we appreciate that we are in this bubble. We've always been in a bubble. We're in this bubble together. And as we are willing to invest ourselves and give back, you must know your why. Why are you doing this business? What do you want to achieve? And it can't be just the bottom line. The bottom line might be money, but the bottom line is always people for me. So don't sabotage your success. Work the politics, work yourself, and always have a higher goal in terms of your achieving so that you can collaborate with the right people.
Indeed. And to add to the quotes, there's a quote that I don't know if it exists out there, but it came to me one day, and I'm sure it does exist now. Your net worth is a reflection of your network. And of course, we have this terminology of you are a reflection of the top 5 people you're spending most of the time with. And of course, birds of a feather flock together. So we really want to make sure that when we look around at our network, there's not a reflection of, hey, this is not who I want to be or who I want to associate with. And of course, we are as strong as our weakest link. So we need to really find ways to give value to those in our network as well. And I recommend this book. It's called Worst Enemy, Best Teacher. It was written by one of my lecturers. Her name is Deidre Combs. And she says that there is a way to survive and thrive with opponents, competitors, and the people who drive you crazy. And I think most of us, we realize that they are really good people we want to network or collaborate with. But guess what? Something about their ethics, something about them just drives us nuts, makes us go bananas. But it is in when we jump those hurdles, we find really meaningful conversation and really meaningful collaboration. So we need to see our enemy as our teacher because there's something to learn, and we need to identify the threats and also meet the inner opponents that are keeping us back on this entire journey.
Yeah, I don't know how my mic muted itself just now. Yeah, so what I'd like to advocate for is that people, particularly people in SMEs and sole trader businesses, the first thing I believe you need to do, and I must speak to the excellent contributions that were just made by Kathleen and Candace. We had a good start, and I think that people have to learn to build trust through, and one of the ways you learn to build trust is by first being vulnerable. Stop studying about being the top dog or the shutter or whatever. Be vulnerable and allow yourself to reach out to others for help. And in that vein, I wanted to recommend 2 books quickly. One of them is the 10 Laws of Trust, 10 Laws of Trust, Building the Bonds That Make a Business Great. It's by a guy named Joel Peterson. And he talks about the importance of building that trust. I think that's a great book. It's a blue and a kind of light gray stripes across it. So the 10 Laws of Trust, Building the Bonds That Make a Business Great. So that's one. And there's another one called, and this one is a little more techy. This is more in the tech world. It's called The Power of Experiments. And this is by Michael Luca and Max H. Bezeman. Now, they talk about it in terms of best practices for some of the hotshot companies, StubHub, Alibaba, Uber, and these disruptors. And they talk about, the importance of experiments in terms of building skill and doing things that you wouldn't think about, thinking outside the box in order to make serious changes and to disrupt the sphere of business that you're operating in order to add value. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, I'd like to add, to offer the end that, teaming is the strategic imperative. And there's so many ways to collaborate and be successful today that I think I would encourage persons to be a little innovative about it. Sit down, take some time, think about your product and your service and offering, and think about all the different persons you could collaborate with in a creative way. You understand? I mean, when you look at it, there's so many ways. For example, you see the doubles vendor, yes, but the doubles vendor will pitch his opportunity inside True Value. You see what I'm saying? That's collaboration, right? You may see a dentist, go to the dentist and wonder, how can I connect with a dentist? You might be able to do something right there. You're seeing, you don't have to pay rent. All these are the kind of opportunities available if we open up our minds to what collaboration can do. All right. So if you just sit down, you might be saying right now, I can't afford to pay for rent, or I can't afford for staff. team up with someone and do services together. There's so, I mean, maybe we need to have a whole session, Alina, on just collaborative strategies that the average person can use, right? But what the book I'd like to leave with you is, I'm taking you back to 1936. You understand? A guy called Dale Carnegie. I mean, it's a standard. How to Win Friends and Influence People. All right? So I will offer that book, especially when we're talking about collaboration and networking. And the core of the book is really about developing a genuine interest in people. If you want to understand what that book is about. At the end of the day, we do goods, we offer goods, and we offer services for people to improve the lives of individuals. You understand? All this this is what it's about, to make our lives better. And this is what that book is about, to develop a genuine interest, a healthy interest in people, and you will learn how to influence them. So I'll leave that with you. And I mean, a great discussion, folks. I love it so much. There's so many takeaways to me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's a great book, Rawle. I love that book. I read that book when I was 17 years old, and it
Yes.
changed my whole outlook on life. Thank you. That was excellent. You bring
Standard.
back memories. You bring back memories to me there.
Yeah, it's a standard. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I think the How to Win Friends and Influence People is really like the starter kit, for getting yourself out there. And I think my contribution as we close is that everybody may be inclined or open to networking. I'll tell you my own personal experience when one of my mentors was encouraging me to come out and network. I was like, oh my God, I have to go into this room of people, and how do I go into this room of strangers and start to talk to them and what they say and so on. And so it really starts with the mindset to be open, as I mentioned before, to be honest and true to yourself. But it's as simple as a smile and a hello. There is no rocket science to it. You don't need to read a manual in terms of figuring out how to network. Go there, say hello, and take it from there. Be yourself. Just to follow up from the books, like I said, I thought that How to Win Friends and Influence People is a really excellent starter for anyone who's unsure of themselves or just needs some help in terms of brush up, with their interactions and so on. But as I grew, I found that moving on from that, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People and moving on to value-based leadership actually took the principles from the 7 Habits and the principles from How to Win Friends and took it onto a whole new level. So, at one point it might have seemed a little bit, and forgive me if I use the word superficial, but you realize that you can put your heart into the relationships, even though these may not be personal relationships, but you put your heart and your integrity and your values into it, and you really will have something that can be lifelong.
This is great. I want to be able to. There is a book that I read a long time ago. It's called Pulling Your Own Strings. And it's written, it's not as old as the recommendation Rawle gave. This one was written back in 1978 by Wayne Dyer, Pulling Your Own Strings. And one of the reasons why I'm mentioning this book is because for a lot of people, networking isn't about the how and the technology and the social media. It's about being confident enough to know that you are worthy, you are valuable, you are not a victim, you are not less than, that you are worth having a voice and you have something of value to share. And I think what pulling your own strings can do, and it has done for so many people who've read it, it helps you kind of tap into those sometimes insecure parts of self. Because I know confidence is not something we touched on a lot in tonight's convo, but it definitely is a big part for a lot of people. Just having the confidence just to reach out, to being able to talk to someone. And so sometimes addressing those internal challenges, those internal struggles and challenges with confidence and so on can make a huge difference in even your willingness to want to put yourself out there, to want to communicate and connect. And so pulling your own strings, I think, is a great one. The author is not coming to mind, but The Big Leap. and the author's supposed to come to mind because that was Book Club Conversation Series 6. But The Big Leap, Gay Hendricks, thank you, I remembered. The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. What I loved about it is that it speaks to those elements that touch on intentionality and understanding how to position oneself, what you're saying yes to, what you're saying no to. How are you tapping into your own path and your purpose and the things that you want to achieve? So I think the Big Leap will help clarify the goals. So once we understand the intent, it makes it easy to identify who you want to connect with, how you want to connect with them, and for what purpose we could get the collaboration going. So Kathleen, Rawle, Anthony, Candace, Nalini, thank you so much once again for
You're
being
so
here
welcome.
for yet another stream of the Book Club Conversation Series 8, where tonight we talk about the art of collaboration networking. Plus, it was wonderful. Of course, we're winding down. We have only 2 more remaining in this series, so be sure to like and follow the channels that you're viewing from. Make sure you connect with us. We love to hear from you. Make sure you share the video, and until next week, Thursday at 8, take care and continue to stay safe. Have a good one, everyone.
Good night.